Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Vice President Biden, how are you today?
Good. Good to see you.
Same here. You know, I've been critical of you. I have a few things I want to talk to you about today.
I know you have.
Yeah.
You don't know me.
No, I don't. That's why I want to get to know you today. I want to talk to you about mostly black stuff. But, you know, first of all, how are you? How's your family during this quarantine?
Thank God everybody's doing well. How about you and your family?
Man, we over here blessed, black, and highly favored, man.
Well, I tell you what, the black community is getting killed, though.
That is very, very true. That is very true. You know, it's a lot of right-wing media outlets. They question you. They question your cognitive health. They don't think everything's working upstairs. What do you say to that?
I say I can hardly wait to meet with that guy who is the stable genius.
There's nothing stable about that guy. You know, one thing I've been critical about is I feel like you've been like MIA during this global pandemic. You know, it's people like Governor Cuomo here in New York who have become political stars simply because we see and hear from them every day. So I'm just like, I'm wondering how you're going to energize people and win a campaign from the House.
Well, I tell you what, I'm following the rules, man.
True.
Number one, I'm keeping the rules. My governor says he doesn't want us out. I haven't been out. I wear my mask. I have a mask. I got Secret Service outside. I walk outside. I have it on. They get tested. And by the way, I'm beating them across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Over 160 million people have watched me so far on shows like yours.
Okay.
All the stuff about it hurting me. It's not hurting me. I'm winning in all those states. I'm ahead in all the national polls. And the more he talks, the better off I am.
Yeah, we know polls can be illusions, though. Like, you know, we looked at all the polls in 2016, too, and look what happened.
Totally different, man. 2016 is totally different. What you had then is you had somebody who didn't know it all. They wanted to just change the system the way it was. He was the biggest change. He had no serious opposition that turned out to materialize. And so it's totally different. Right now, we're in a situation where it's like, you know, that Carney show goes through town once and you find out there's no pee under any one of those three shells that get pushed around. Mm-hmm. Next time it comes back, what do? Next time it comes back, you ain't playing. You got to figure it out. Okay. And let me tell you something. My community's figured it out a while ago. But here's the deal. What I have to do is I have to continue to talk about the things that matter. And the things that matter are, for example, right now there's a study out of Columbia University and the Disease Control Center up there. They pointed out that if he had listened to me and others and acted just 1 week earlier to deal with this virus, there'd be 36,000 fewer people dead. And you guys are wondering, what's he doing? Come on, man. Get a life. Get a life. This guy has been incredibly terrible. And what we've had is, you know, back in January, I wrote an article back, I think, the 27th of January, said this pandemic's here. We should act. Every other country that was acted around the time, got the notice around the time we did, they have considerably fewer deaths as a percent of the population. I'm the guy that said we ought to take hard records and find out exactly how many people in the black community are getting COVID and are dying from it. And look what's happened. Now everybody's going, oh, surprise, surprise. Look, everybody knows this. We have to come back. We have to fight back. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the crisis is laying bare the institutional racism that's still prevalent in our society. And I believe we have to address it by transforming our economy and this time bringing everybody along. And we haven't, look, he started to undermine the pillars of his economy before. The blinders, Charlamagne, in my view, have been taken off. Okay. Now people recognize that those essential workers, a disproportionate amount of them are African Americans, and they're breaking their necks, risking their lives, losing their lives. They're grocery store workers, they're bus drivers, they're delivery people, they're the people who are on the line. They're the healthcare workers who are in a position where they're taking care of the nurses. I mean, and they're making basically the minimum wage. So this time when we come back, we had to not only move this along, we not only rebuild, but we have to transform this economy. We can create millions of new jobs in transportation, energy structure. There's jobs, a job is a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about how you're treated. And that's how we built from the working class to the middle class. But this time we have to address the institutional racism. We've seen it more clearly now. In a black majority county, they're 6 times more likely to die in a pandemic than a white county. They're disproportionately uninsured in the African American community, disproportionately make up the essential jobs that they can't do at home. They're risking their lives every day. Enough's enough. And this Biden recovery I'm going to put together will bring everybody along. We're going to build a better future, not back to what we had, but back to something better than we had.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I don't know if you saw a couple weeks ago, Sean Combs, you might know him as Diddy.
Yeah.
He said what I believe a lot of black voters, including myself, feel, and that's that Democrats take black voters for granted. Votes are quid pro quo, right? It's not like I don't want to vote. I just want to know what candidates will do for us in exchange for our votes. The same way young progressive Latinos or the LGBT community.
Absolutely.
We want the same thing. Do you feel like black people are owed that from the Democratic Party?
Absolutely, Bob. What did I say? Remember when they said Biden can't win the primaries?
Yes.
I kicked everybody's ass. Excuse me.
No, talk like that. I need you to say that. You did what?
No, I won overwhelmingly. I told you when I got to South Carolina, I won every single county. I won a larger share of the black vote than anybody has, including Barack. I increased the vote in Virginia overwhelmingly by 70%. Look, what people don't know about me is I come from a state that's the 8th largest black population in America. The 8th largest. I get 96% of that vote for the last 40 years. They're the folks, as they say it my way, brung me to the dance. That's how I get elected every single time. And everybody's shocked. I get overwhelming support from the black leadership, young and old. Every poll shows me way ahead. And it's not just, I hear this, oh yeah, old blacks are with Biden, but youngs aren't. Look at the polling data. Polling data, let's say it's off by half. Come on, man. Give me a little break here. This is where I come from. I got involved. I came home from college, and I had a job with a really fancy law firm out of law school. And my city is the only city in America occupied by the National Guard, the military, for 10 months when Dr. King was shot. And I had this fancy job, a kid coming from a lower middle income household. I quit and became a public defender. And I stayed in that community. I was the only guy when I was in high school. I had a job, a country club kind of job at a swimming pool. I was the only white employee in the East Side because I wanted to work in the projects, because I wanted to understand. That's how I got involved in politics. That's what this is all about for me. It's about equality. It's about dignity. It's about treating people with respect. And so, when you take a look at my record, people talk about the crime bill. Crime bill didn't increase mass incarceration. Other things increase mass incarceration. And the reason why, if you go back and look, and I know you talk about it, you go back and take a look. That's why you had the vast majority of the Black caucus at the time supporting the crime bill. Almost every major city black mayor supported the crime bill because blacks were getting killed overwhelmingly as well. And what happened when that crime bill? It had 4 or 5 really important things. It had the Violence Against Women Act. It said drug courts, don't send anybody who has a drug problem to jail, send them to rehabilitation, to a drug court. It had in it, they had the assault weapons ban, getting rid of assault weapons, getting rid of the number of rounds you could have in a gun. It also had in it a whole range of other things, but had things I didn't like. Clinton wanted to put in a deal where, in fact, 3 strikes and you're out. I opposed that 3 strikes and you're out bill. I oppose the position taken that saying that you're going to have any mandatory sentences. But on balance, the whole bill, what happened was it did, in fact, bring down violent crime in black communities as well. And guess what? The fact is, prison population didn't increase. 94% of every prisoner in jail is in a state prison, not a federal prison, no federal law. And here's the deal. The one thing I opposed in that bill was people wanting to give money to state prisons to build more prisons. I opposed it. But the point was, on balance, everything from the assault women's ban to the violence against women ban to the drug courts. They were important. And now look what we can do. Look, I've been pushing along with my colleagues in a Black caucus in the United States Congress. We should change the entire, and I've been doing this for a while, change the entire prison system from one that is punishment to rehabilitation. There's only a couple things everybody has in common in jail. One is they were the victims of abuse, or their kids were, or their mother was. Number two, can't read. Number three, they don't have any job skills. They were in a position where they didn't get a chance. Why does it make sense? Why did I come along and write the first act that said when you get out of prison, you don't just get a notion where you get 25 bucks and a bus ticket. You end up under the bridge. You end up under the bridge and just do the same place. So every single solitary person being released from prison should have access to every single government program. Why does it not make sense to have African Americans who are getting out of prison who serve their time, everybody for that matter, be able to have public housing? Why doesn't it make sense that they can have Pell Grants to go to school? Why doesn't it make sense they can have access to health care? What are we, nuts? That's what we keep doing.
Yeah, sorry, that's our time there.
No, I'm sorry. I know Jill has to use this, but I've talked too much. I apologize.
No, I gotta ask you though, why so much resistance on admitting the crime bill and other legislation you are a part of was damaging to the Black community? Because we had Hillary on a few years ago, and Ms. Clinton said that the crime bill, we made a lot of mistakes with that, and she wanted to atone for that by becoming the next president. Like,
she was wrong. What happened was it wasn't the crime bill. It was the drug legislation. It was the institution of mandatory minimums, which I oppose. Mandatory, I oppose the ban.
I thought you was a part of that in '84 as well. The Comprehensive Crime Control Act that established mandatory minimum sentences for drug offenses.
No. What happened was what you're confusing is what happened was the Black Caucus came to me and said, "Look, I did this study when I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee. We looked at every district of the of the 10 court districts in America, federal court districts, and we found out that if you got arrested for robbery and convicted, and I got arrested for robbery and convicted, it was the first time, you went to jail an average of 13 years. I went to jail an average of 3 years. So there was this whole move, same time for the same crime. So no one based on their color could go to jail longer than anybody else for the same crime. So what happened was there was a judicial selection committee setting up that how you deal with making sure that the sentencing process is taken out of the hands of prosecutors saying, I'm going to want 12 years, 13 years for you, and 3 years for me. The end result of that was the unintended consequence, which we changed, Barack and I did, was the fact that you, in fact, all of a sudden, you could not lower my sentence or your sentence be lower than what was the average sentence for everybody else going to jail in the districts. That's how that came about. It didn't say mandatory. We said to the judges, you can't send people to jail for the same crime different times. They have to be within a framework. That's why that has been changed. And while I was vice president, I helped Barack, we reduced the prison population federally by 38,000 people. 38,000 people. And the only mandatory was in there was carjacking, which I opposed, and 3 strikes and you're out, which is ridiculous. It only was imposed 3 times. But still, even once makes no sense. The idea of 3 strikes and you're out. Give me a break. And the other thing we have to do, one of the things that, I was a public defender. I'm going to insist when I'm president that a federal public defender gets paid the same amount of money as a federal prosecutor gets paid. So you have representation. People have representation. But the bottom line is, the other piece is, I'm going to try to change, and I've laid it out. I'll send you a copy of my plan so you have it to see it.
Lift every voice?
Pardon me?
What, deliver every voice or what?
No, the plan I have is my manifesto for Black America. And particularly the portion of it that relates to how, in fact, we're going to deal with the prison system. If you are in prison, if you are convicted of a crime, no one should be going to jail for a drug crime, period. Nobody. No matter what the crime, particularly marijuana, which makes no sense for people to go to jail. They should be just wiped out completely. And the reason is that, if anything, for those crimes that are actually continue to be crimes, scheduled crimes, which marijuana shouldn't be anymore, what is happening is you shouldn't go to prison. You should go to a mandatory rehabilitation. Mm-hmm. It costs less to put people in a drug rehabilitation program than it does in jail. And you have a chance. We got to give people a chance.
You know, Vice President Biden, I've read some of your Black agenda, and you say that you would decriminalize marijuana. What's the difference between legalizing it and decriminalizing it?
Because they're trying to find out whether or not there is any impact on the use of marijuana, not in leading you to other drugs, but what it affects. Does it affect long-term development of the brain? And we should wait till the studies are done. I think science matters.
I think we got decades and decades of studies from actual weed smokers, though.
Yeah, I do. I know a lot of weed smokers.
I want to ask you about your running mate. I don't know if you saw. Well, I saw the day that the news report broke that Amy Klobuchar was being vetted, and a lot of people on social media, they're not too happy about that. And it's because they want your running mate to be a Black woman. I don't know if you saw the op-ed in the Washington Post by some of the leading Black women voices in this country. And they feel, since Black women are such a loyal voting bloc and Black people saved your political life in the primaries this year, they have things they want from you. And one of them is a Black woman running mate. What do you say to them? What
I say to them is that I'm not acknowledging anybody who is being considered, but I guarantee you there are multiple Black women being considered. Multiple.
You know, thanks so much. That's really our time. I apologize.
You can't do that to Black media.
I can't do that to white media and Black media because my wife has to go on at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't Black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. Come on. Take a look at the record.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Anyway, thanks. I will come back.
All right.
I look forward to seeing you in person.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay, pal. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it, Charlamagne.